It's a grizzly.
Should we get out of here?
No, we're gonna watch and listen.
Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. Yeah, what's shaking and baking, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Paranormal Cryptid Rabbit Holes, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, sorry, but better late than never, right? Yeah, look at Amanda backstage. Boy, she's loving that. So how's everybody doing? Hello, Mr. Decker. How you doing there, kind sir?
Hey, doing all right. Hey, everybody, how y'all doing out there? I'm excited for this show tonight, man. It's going to be a fun one.
Fun one? Everybody's like, dude, what? You're like, you're talking about, what are you talking about? I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, we are talking about dinosaurs. I know, right? I thank you, Yolanda. You all have been carrying on a conversation. Welcome, everybody, to the show. Nicole, Yolanda, Norma, Barb, Rebecca, everybody in their whole brand. You all have been carrying on some conversations. So, yeah, so I see we have a wonderful guest backstage. So, what's going on?
All right. Well, tonight I wanted to go down the rabbit hole of living dinosaurs and dinosaur sightings, not just in the United States, but all around the world. Okay. And the reason that this subject is a particular favorite of mine is because my dad had a sighting in the jungle of what we could potentially call a dinosaur. And ever since then, and hearing a story from him and kind of putting two to two together, the subject has fascinated me. And so doing some of my research, I was researching dinosaur sightings in Appalachia, and I came across our guest who has a story of her own to tell. And so I'm really excited to bring Amanda on tonight, and we can hear her story. And not only does she has her own personal story, she has talked to some other people that may have had sightings in Appalachia as well. So we're going to talk about living dinosaurs tonight, current sightings, and then kind of what's going on with how come people are still seeing it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have told you beyond a reasonable doubt that there are things that walk upon this earth that should not exist, but they do. But y'all sit there and laugh every time I tell you all these things, and y'all don't believe me. Now, I have seen people document beyond reasonable doubt pterodactyls that exist today that have been caught on cell phones as they were driving. And these are not computer-generated things, but actual pterodactyls. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I know that pterodactyls do not exist. They should not. But when you got, whoa, Amanda, I don't know what happened to him, but I'm not losing you, so I'm bringing you on right now. Everybody, welcome Amanda to the show. All right, here she is. How are you doing?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
Oh, wonderful. That freaked me out. Every time we start getting close to the truth, somebody ends up disappearing off the show. Welcome to
Right?
the show.
Something to
Nice
that,
to have
right?
you. Yeah, absolutely. So here he comes back. Scares me. I don't like being scared, Mr. Decker, but I went ahead and brought her on. Yeah, here you go. He's starting a whirlwind there. But introduce yourself. Tell everybody who you are and everything.
Well, my name is Amanda. I'm just a mountain girl here from Southern Appalachia in North Georgia. And I met Justin through some random Facebook group that we were a part of, out of like a million Facebook Bigfoot Facebook groups I'm a part of. A little bit about myself: I am actually a employee for Expedition Bigfoot, the Sasquatch Museum in Cherry Log, Georgia. Represent, and
Oh, she did not.
I
That
did.
was
Yes,
a
I did.
plug, ladies and gentlemen, right there. She just smacked me.
Can't help it. Got to do it.
No, you got to do it. That's right. I'm
All
glad you
right,
did.
sorry, I'm a bit of a dork myself, and so yeah, I forget how the conversation came up. I think Justin was reaching out for different people who may or may not have had sightings of these things, heard stories about us. It just happened to plug in. It's like, hey, just over here, I happened to see some kind of weird pterodactyl-looking thing when I was a kid. So if you want to talk, here I am.
See, you seen one too.
Yes, sir.
See, ladies and gentlemen, you think I just make this stuff up and just want to just say things just to be saying things? Well, I'm telling you, these things exist. Now, I don't know if they come from another dimension or another portal. I don't know if they're just like dum 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 like the two buzzards that we used to watch when we were growing up. I don't remember the damn buzzard names. You know what I'm talking about? The cartoon. Did I
I
give
Are
remember.
we all still on? I'm having some connectivity issues here.
Yeah, everything was fine until I got on. Now everything's making me scared. But things do exist. And when the first time I saw a pterodactyl, the guy recorded, I was like, dude, what? And I was like, no, that is such a hoax. There's no way. Now, they took this guy's cell phone and they tried everything they could to debunk his footage. And they could not. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, I'm just telling you, ladies and gentlemen, it was just that. There he goes again. But I don't know. So what happened when you saw yours?
So I was probably 12 years old or so, somewhere in there. It had to be around the year 2000. And it was just I was outside like any other out country kid would be outside playing in the dirt, and just happened to, for whatever reason, look up. Like I heard the of wings, and I looked up thinking, it was about the size of a woodpecker or a really big crow. But what caught my attention was how quiet it was flying overhead, and that way the light was hitting, I could see like through the wings. And like I said, all this happened in just a few seconds, but it was enough for me to go, "What the heck is that?" and watch it as it flew over the house and past me. And to this day, I still have this image in my head. I was like, that wasn't any bird. That was definitely not anything that I recognized to be. It was very reptilian looking because the way the sun hit it, the sun was coming through the wings, so you could actually see like the yellow and the color of the veins or whatever.
Yeah. So
So it
you were
was,
looking through the membrane through the skin.
yes, yes, sir. Yeah, that.
I know exactly what you're talking about, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, picture a bat flying across the sun in front of you. And that's what you're looking at. Now, how big was it you think it was?
Um, I'm not very good with it when it comes to sizes and measurements. Like I said, it was about this. I would say about the size of a large crow or like a hawk of some size. It wasn't very large, like you would think, like the giant pterodactyls that you see on like Jurassic Park and stuff like that. It was kind of small, and I also don't know if this will pull up on the camera or not, but I'll try. But that is the closest here this way that
Yeah,
I
I'm going to have
come to
nightmares
finding.
now, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. So much for
Yeah,
tonight.
and I just remember it had the point on the back of the head like that as well. And like I said, I know what I saw. You can't tell me otherwise.
So you're not the only one. So I've actually went through and did some research. When Decker was like, I want to do a show about dinosaurs, I was like, what? And he was like, why not? And I'm like, what do you mean, why not? He's like, well, we do things about this and that. Why not this? And I'm like, well, you got a point. And I was like, we know Purdue, we know the Amazon, we know Monster Quest, we know these other shows, we know, and I can go on and on that people have come forward and they actually claim, they're like, did you see that? Did you see what ran for the car? And everybody's like on this, coming back from this cruise, all tired and hungover, and like, see what? They're like, you did not see those herd of baby dinosaurs just run across the road, about ran over in the SUV, and they're like freaking out, going through the jungle, and they're like, 3 or 4 foot tall, and they're like velociraptors or whatever you call them. I'm just trying to give you a name of trying to, describe what something looks like. And they're like, no, I did not see that. And then one of them comes forward months later, like, I didn't see that. I just didn't want nobody else to know I saw what you saw. Oh, what the hell? Why don't you tell me that now? So, but I'm telling you, there is something. I don't know what it is. I don't know if people are playing with portals. I don't know if it's other dimensions. I don't know if it's demonic. I don't know. I mean, what are your thoughts on it?
Are you asking me or Justin?
Yes,
Sorry.
I'm asking
myself?
you.
Oh, okay, good. I was just double checking. So I take everything just from my personal faith and from a very Christian standpoint. That's how I was raised, and that's where my personal beliefs stand in. But that also means if you really, really start digging into your Bible, like you probably should, the thoughts of having, more supernatural and paranormal stuff aspects into these things, it could be, I'm open to if it could be just, hey, they're still around, they never actually went extinct, to, like I said, they go through intra and or extra dimensional portals. And there's people who play with spirituality, Ouija boards and things like that. They could be opening up things that we have no idea. I mean, take for example our girl the Loch Ness monster. How much of a stuff you hear about people talking about that could possibly be portals and stuff there. So, I mean, what's the possibility of that being here in Appalachia as well? Because, I mean, the Appalachian Mountains are old, very old, and wouldn't surprise me
Girl,
a bit.
I'm from northern Kentucky. I just moved from Lexington, Kentucky. All right, so you want to talk about in the mountains? We can talk about in the mountains. I grew up.
I hear you.
So I know that there are things in those hills that have eyes. I've seen those movies. That's why I carry extra ammo, okay?
Yeah.
So
Don't even worry about the movies. Just go out after dark, and that'll tell you about it.
No, I'm good. No, I'm good. Don't worry about that. Because you want to talk about faith, I got plenty of holy water. I got crucifixes. I've got garlic. You name it. I got steaks and all. But anyways, but no, I'm being serious. But now, how much do you think this is man-made, and that it is probably escaped?
Oh, a lot of it. Very much a lot of it. Like you said, we're talking about movies. I mean, what's the phrase I'm looking for? Like I said, the government can't seem to keep their dirty fingers out of things that they shouldn't. I mean, all the scientists and stuff like that messing with things they shouldn't have. What if
the God
Jurassic
complex?
What if the God complex? Yes. What if Jurassic Park wasn't exactly a fictional movie? What if there's some truth to the science?
Ladies and gentlemen, and girl, I said Jurassic Park will be reality as the Terminator become reality. And lo and behold, AI is here. Yes, AI was here. Now we have a guy out here that's watching our show right now. I did not know that he educated me that the Terminator and Matrix was the same person that wrote those. Did you know that? I did not know that.
Actually, I didn't.
Yes,
I'll have to look into that. That's cool.
And they intertwine. So if he wants to chime in on that, hint, go ahead. But that kind of threw me for a loop, and I'm like, well, is that not somebody shaking the tree and having their fruit fall? Trying to get our attention. So yeah, they do go hand in hand. But that is the thing, because there are things that we did not realize. Right now, they talk about bringing back the woolly mammoth. Oh, BS! It already happened.
Oh, Lord.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
If they talk about it or thinking about it, it's already been done, ladies and gentlemen. That's the way I look at it.
exactly. Absolutely.
So, they call that soft disclosure. BS, they're calling that conditioning. They're just going to let us know before it comes out of the bag. It's already been done. Prepare yourself and grab your ankles. What the
Put on
hell
your
was
tin
that?
hats, boys. Sorry, I don't know if you can hear
thought
my
somebody
cat.
was screaming help. And I'm
No.
like, are you hearing this? I'm like,
Nope, that's just
that sounds like somebody saying
that's
help.
our special guest. This is Abby.
Okay, all right. I had paranormal activity that happens in my studio, and I thought I heard somebody saying help, help. I was like, oh my God, this is not happening again. They're going
She
on
might
the
sound
show,
like
Liana.
that sometimes.
All right, Chris, you have your last now, dang on it. Y'all, you had your last night with Barb, but yes. Yeah, yes, Chris, that's what I thought was going on. So, anyways, but no, and that's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, that man, not referring to as man and woman, but humanity, mankind,
Mhm.
has always had their finger in playing God and making things. And when they first came out with the movie Jurassic Park, I said that it's going to become reality. When they start taking DNA from other animals and crossbreeding it and slicing it and splicing it and to create these creatures, then I knew it was already in the petri dish because they already have laws on the books that said we are not allowed to do that. So that's why we go to these third world countries to play doctor and God, to dabble and to create things. So, and I'm not going to go into another cryptid because we're going to have that on another show. But that leads us to another show topic we'll discuss later on a different night. But when you have people like you that sees these things, and people come forward with footage. Now, ladies and gentlemen, footage. Thank you for hitting that like button. I'll throw that up there. I appreciate that. I'm a little slow tonight, especially for being late. But when you have people that come forward with videos and pictures and all that other stuff, it is hard, ladies and gentlemen, beyond reasonable doubt to accept that because of the technology. Now, if we go back 10 or 12 years and the average person, we did not have access to the technology that we do have as of today. And when these people came forward and said, look what I have, people ridiculed them and made fun of them. I didn't. I was like, are you serious? And I'm like, oh, okay, let's see here. I mean, like, what do they have to gain? Number one. Number two, are they getting paid for this? No, they weren't. A lot of them got so far ridiculed, they lost their jobs. They had to move locations and towns. The family were uprooted and everything else. So, I look at the totality. I use that a lot, and it's because I'm ex-law enforcement. Totality is everything as a whole. What is the person's benefit? What do they have to gain for coming forward? And none of them had anything to gain. Some of them that came on the show, Paranormal, caught on TV. A lot of people are like, it's just a bunch of stuff. People are like sending their own fake stuff. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot of stuff on there that, I do believe that is a hoax. Yes. I said that I do believe is a hoax. Yes. But you do have those genuine footage of people that are like, I don't know what this is, ladies and gentlemen. I put my car in a ditch and this is what I caught and I cannot explain it. Now, the people that we know that allegedly caught these creatures or these giants, right, that filmed while driving, no longer walk upon this earth. They're erased off social media and their family are crying, wanting help. What happened to my son or daughter? What happened to my daddy? What happened to my grandpa? They're all what the hell? They got erased. Is it a hoax? Oh, it's a big hoax. Well, is that what our government and everybody wants us to believe? I think my professional opinion and what Grizzly thinks is what you just said earlier. I think man is playing with things and we can't keep a lid on it. Excuse me. And things have gotten out of control and things are escaping and whatnot. And that's what we're seeing in that. And
Absolutely.
people are actually open up portals. Decker, what do you think?
Well, I think we have a lot of different things going on, to be honest with you. I firmly believe that there are still pockets that never went extinct. We're talking deep jungles or areas where most humans just don't get access to. I think there could definitely still be some pockets, some remnants of certain dinosaur creatures still around. I really do. But I also think that we also have issues with opening up demonic portals. You mentioned Loch Ness Monster. Well, a lot of people don't realize Aleister Crowley did a lot of his black magic and dark magic on the shores of Loch Ness.
Yes,
That was
sir.
a big area for him. He did a lot of that stuff. And one of Aleister Crowley's main objectives was opening doorways. I don't know if they called them portals yet, but doorways to the demonic realms or other dimensions using black magic and sex magic. That was his thing. He supposedly succeeded a couple times, and who's to say that's not what happened with Loch Ness? We just don't know. I believe there could be some DNA manipulation stuff going on, a la Jurassic Park style. That makes sense to me. I believe a lot of the mainstream movies, like you said, are considered soft disclosure, or at the very least, a desensitization project to kind of get our minds ready to accept certain things that are coming forward in the future. And I always remind people when it comes to high tech, military tech, government tech, they are at least 50 years ahead of where we are in the public. And that comes everything medical, technological, all these advancements that we are just seeing now and coming out have already been done and over with 50 years ago, if not longer. They've just worked on perfecting them and perfecting how they can benefit the powers that be. So I firmly believe that that's a huge possibility as well. But I know, like, for the story that intrigued me as a kid with my father, this was before I have any memory, in a town in Colombia called Puerto Inidida along the Venezuelan border. Dad tells the story of a creature that would come out of the jungle and attack our chickens. And he basically described it as an iguana, right? He just said this big iguana would come out. Well, once I started understanding and learning more and really delving into the subject, I had him describe this iguana to me. And it really was just massive, to the point where he described it as being about 8 foot long.
Wow.
And it wasn't upright. It was streamed out like an iguana, but it carried itself and its head in a very upright kind of posture. And being that size, it was still fast enough to be able to run down chickens and kill them and eat them for food. And Dad said one day while he was out there and he saw this critter come out and go after the chickens, he grabbed a heavy metal pole. Now, up north, they'd call it like an ice spud, which is basically a really heavy rod of iron, about 5 foot, 6 foot tall, and it was used for chipping away ice up north. Well, he said it was similar to that, and he picked it up and spear chucked this iron rod at this critter, and he hit it in the head. Now, I would think normally, even a large iguana, you hit it in the head with a 20-pound iron rod, it's probably going to kill it. It's going to do some damage. Now, mind you, this was the day my dad was in his prime. He would have been in his mid-30s, big, strong guy, living out in the jungles, doing hard labor every day. So he was not a weak man at all. This critter basically just shook its head, just kind of shook it off, and looked at my dad and just kind of stared at him. And Dad said from that point forward, that iguana could have any chicken he wanted, and he wasn't going to mess with it.
Wow.
But in studying iguanas and lizards and critters like that, that's not iguana behavior. I mean, yes, they will eat meat, but they're not going to be able to chase down a chicken over a long distance. That's just not how they do. They're not active predators that way. They're omnivores. They'll eat things they can catch readily, small snakes, little lizards, little mice, fruit, all that kind of stuff. But for them to actively hunt and predate on a flock of chickens is not normal behavior for any type of iguana that we would normally have down in the jungles of South America.
Right. Right. So
So
Chris
that,
asked the question, and I'm
mhm.
gonna put this down here: the Mandela effect. Is that
Okay.
possible? Now, a lot of people don't know what it is. Hopefully, I can put it in one paragraph. Let's see if it takes. It did. It did take it. So, a Mandela effect refers to a situation which a large mass of people believes an event occurred when it did not. The term originated in 2009 by Broom, and after she discovered that, she, along with number of, so basically, if we're all sitting around a campfire and whatever, and I say I saw something, and you all said and believe the same thing, and next thing you know, we're all managed. But yeah, could that possibly happen? Yeah, okay, it can. But ladies and gentlemen, when we have people across the globe that are saying these things that don't know each other, that are coming forth not only on different people's shows, but Monster Quest, Paranormal Con on TV, and I can go on naming these other shows across the years. And you can actually
Mhm.
go out there and Google uh, Peru and these other third world countries where they actually will tell you today, yeah, we have dinosaurs. They still exist.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
like that. Who's that the guy that goes out and catch these monster fish? That tries to. I can't
Jeremy
think.
Wade.
Yeah, yeah. That
Jeremy Wade.
Jeremy Way. Tries to debunk a lot of things and tries to
Mhm.
figure out what fish is causing what havoc. But does that happen? Yeah, I will say it can. I'm not going to say it's not, but uh, people are seeing stuff, ladies and gentlemen, that is unexplainable. You know,
Mhm.
and I'll find that picture. Let me see if I can find. I'll say I'll find it. Let me see if I can find it now. Since I'm late to the
Well,
show, I
look, I
do
mean,
apologize.
in Africa, we have obviously Mokele Membe,
I
right?
was
Who's
actually about to
supposed to
bring that
be
up.
like a sauropod, right? There's the Melanatonka, which is supposed to be kind of like a triceratops type creature that is known as the elephant killer. There's another one which I'm not even going to try and pronounce its name. And it's stated to have plates on its back and like a stegosaurus, but it lives in the rivers like a crocodile, but it has these plates on its back. In Papua New Guinea, we have the ropin, right? Africa has the Kongamato. The ropin and Kongamato are like pterosaurs, different types of flying creatures. These things are sighted all over the world to this day. And in here in the U.S., I mean, Amanda had her sighting. In my research, I came across people that have sighted what they called flying snakes here in Appalachia as kids, and they remember going out in the mountains behind, excuse me, behind grandma's house, and had these small, like 8 to 12 inch flying snakes, they called them, would come out and harass them and the dog sometimes. Um, J.C. Johnson, the late J.C. Johnson, had videos of him tracking supposed dinosaurs out in the Four Corners area where he was at. We've got reports coming out of Texas of people driving through the desert and seeing a herd of these things, 4 or 5 foot tall, like ostriches, running across the desert alongside their car and then turning off into the desert where they can't see them anymore. These sightings are happening all over the world, all over our country, and it absolutely amazes me. In fact, Amanda actually has a story from somebody else that I have not been able to follow up on, Amanda. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
um,
I actually
that
haven't myself
reported
either, but
seeing, yeah, this lady reported seeing a different type of dinosaur creature in the same, I wouldn't say same area, but kind of the same general northern
pretty
Georgia
much the
area.
same area from where she
Yeah, you
described
want to
it.
tell us about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be glad to. Yeah, so this probably a couple years ago, I got this report from a lady, and I happened to be wearing my logo shirt here for the museum, and of course, got into conversation about it. And she mentioned that she had seen some kind of, she mentioned a dinosaur type creature across the road, which was probably no more than probably 10 miles as the crow flies, as they say, from where I had my sighting. And of course, it was a classic, road crossing one. And but the main part that she caught was an upright two-legged one with the long, heavy tail I talk with my hands, so I'm trying to get myself in the camera, the heavy tail that comes out the back of it. And that was the part that she caught in the woods. And she said it was just this crazy lizard skin green color. That was what caught the color was just so bright, and the skin tone was almost like a gecko type. So that was a pretty interesting conversation I had with that person, and through other previous conversations I had with some of my family members. I haven't actually mentioned this one to you yet, Justin. Some family members have, in some of their hunting up here in the mountains, have come across what they call basically giant turkey tracks, big giant three-toed footprints up here, but like, bigger than their hands, and which is like twice as big as mine up in the woods. So what do you explain that to be?
No, and that's the point. Now, this picture has been around, and this has not been fabricated in the past 3 to 5 years, ladies and gentlemen. This picture has been around for some time. And I remember this picture from years ago. And what's very interesting now is that now you cannot get to the actual source and the article of that picture, which is very interesting. Which is, I don't understand why. So I'm not going to go into that rabbit hole on tonight. But yeah, so you go to visit that page, and URL is no longer there, and then it takes you to another rabbit hole. But it goes to show, and if I remember the story correctly, that this town was being terrorized by these creatures. And ladies and gentlemen, back then, people handle things differently. They had guns, and thank you. I appreciate that. And they had guns, and when they wanted to defend themselves, they just took the damn things out. They hunt them down. And that's what they did. They actually banded together, and what they did, and they actually shot one, killed one, and they took a picture with it. And this picture has been debated for a long time. Hello, Gino. Welcome to the show. This picture has been debated for a very long time, but the backstory of it, I wish I was going to be able to pull up, but I'm not able to. So that's interesting, because everything is being censored. But I just wanted to show that. But that's what I'm saying. There are documentations that these things do exist. Yeah. And
now there is some people out there putting forth that is a hoax photo, and I just want to put this out there to cover all of our bases, right? Because this is rabbit holes, and that's what we do. And supposedly somebody has come up with a large rubber pterodactyl that is supposedly the one in the picture. But I have to always say, in caveat to that, there is no evidence to back that claim up other than somebody has a big rubber dinosaur. There's no evidence backing up that it's the one in the picture, or how it got there, or who manufactured it, or a time frame on it, other than somebody showed up with this pterodactyl claiming that's the one in the picture with no background and no proof or no evidence of it.
Now,
I had to throw that out there for everybody.
This picture has been out here for many years. It's not been just like came up last month or anything, ladies and gentlemen.
Exactly.
This picture has been debated and tried to been debunked for many. But like I said, you used to be able to go to the internet, click on the picture, and it'll give you the story, the state, the year, the town, and actually the people that allegedly shot it. Now, unfortunately, it's not there, so I don't know. I just brought it up to show you all. So
I find it interesting you're bringing that up, Grizzly, because in doing research for this particular episode this week, I was trying to pull up some of the stuff that I have seen and have read and I knew about living dinosaurs, and I could not find any of the stories or materials that I know existed because I've read them. And like Grizz, part of my ability is when I read something that I retain that information for, well, I don't know how long yet because I don't know when I forget it, right? But for 20, 30 years, like I remember being, in my teens reading stories on dinosaurs, and I remember conversing with different people and going to websites and finding this information. But when you start pulling up searches and you're just not finding them anymore. It's not there that's being pulled back, or it's being hidden or being erased, like you said with that one website. And I found that it very interesting and intriguing in doing my research that I can't find this stuff anymore.
Yeah, things are disappearing, and if that photograph, is a hoax, then I like to see the rubber dinosaur because I would like to play with it. And that's
Right?
something very big, and that'd be something very costly to make. And
Hmm.
I'm not saying it could not be a possible hoax. I'm not saying that. I'm just
Right.
saying, and I'll say it again, that photograph has been around for many, many years, ladies and gentlemen. It is something that's
And
been well known out in the community and has been on shows,
yeah.
and I know, and has been used as documentaries on shows. So, along with other
Hmm.
photographs that are no longer out there. But once again, with technology and non-believers and so forth, which is fine, I understand that and respect that. But are you going to look at her and tell her that she did not see what she saw?
Exactly.
I'm listening.
Exactly.
Because I'm not. People
No.
are seeing stuff, and that's the thing. And I think a lot of it's either interdimensional, a lot of it's man-made, whether it's coming out of portals. Ladies and gentlemen, I do not know. You want to get the biblical reference out? We'll get the biblical reference out. Did they actually all die and extinct? I talked to some people today on a national show, and they're like, no, they did not all die. The man has been keeping some of them private, just like they do on Jurassic Park and keeping on some island. And I forgot what island they call it, but they do escape and they do create them. So I don't know. So it makes you wonder about things that we're not being told the truth on.
Yeah.
So do I dare ask what you did? Uh-oh. Who asked who did what? Rebecca, who are you talking to? Me or her, or you or him or I or you? That's the question. I got a call. Hold on.
Well, if you're asking about me, like I said, I was just a kid playing in the yard and I just kind of saw it and kind of went on about my businesses. That was weird. A little more history about myself. I've had quite a few paranormal esque type encounters with things throughout my life. Everything from Bigfoot to aliens and demons, ghosts, you name it. I don't know if I'm just like conduit or what, but I just kind of filed it in the back of my head along with all the other weird stuff I've seen. So that's kind of where that is for me, anyways.
Does the Bible say anything about them? The Bible says a lot of things. The Bible says that God has created creatures seen and unseen. So we can use that as a blanket excuse or blanket reference. Does the Bible just say God created raptures? Yes. Does God say or Jesus rode a pterodactyl? No, we don't say stuff like that in scripture, because man wrote scriptures recounting stuff, allegedly. But, it does give us hints about stuff. I mean, history, ladies and gentlemen, they're finding petroglyphs and paintings that humanity, Homo sapiens, whatever you want to call them, were alive when the dinosaurs were alive. Well, then in our history, that's impossible. But that's not supposed to exist with each other. But where you're seeing they're drawing pictures of them, they're riding these animals, they're hunting these animals. And now, if that's the truth, ladies and gentlemen, now our timeline's way off once again. And that's going to change off everything that man has taught man, and what we are supposed to know is the truth. None but the truth will help us. So I don't know what to say about that.
Well, also they have found fossilized dinosaur tracks and fossilized human tracks in the same layer. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe it was in Glen Rose, Texas, or something along them lines, where the tracks were, I want to say, running parallel and at one point crossed each other. And of course, it was all claimed to be a hoax. But when they further dug into the cliffside or the hillside or the mountainside, whatever it was right there where they were digging, the tracks continued into the dig site. So it wasn't just where somebody hoaxed something on the surface, which is what the evolutionists were trying to say at that point in time. These tracks went into the hillside. And there's no way you can hoax that. That's not even possible. So the evidence is out there. We have sightings. We have, like you said, the artwork from the ancients. We have the Ishtar Gate, which shows some kind of dinosaur-like creature on it. Peru has different stones, the Inca stones that were originally had like sauropod type dinosaurs on them, and then the two-legged theropod type dinosaurs. Now, yes, further on, a lot of those stones were hoaxed to mass produce them to sell to tourists and scientists, but I don't believe the original finding ones were. I don't think that was the case at all. So we have the historical documentation, and then we have to realize the word dinosaur was only invented in the early 1800s, right? So we have to look at what were dinosaurs called before they were called dinosaurs. And that's an easy one, guys. Dragons.
Yeah.
Look, it's not that hard to come up with, right? If you look back in European culture, how many stories of knights slaying dragons? Now, if you really look at the original stories and read the description of the dragons, guess what? They are not all flying smog dragons from Lord of the Rings. Some of them are described like Triceratops or other ceratopsians. Some are described as kind of like Tyrannosaurus Rex theropod type creature. Some are described as very long, snake-like, but with legs, especially like in China. I ran across the report of a Chinese farmer killing a dragon that was attacking his livestock. And it wasn't the feathery, iconic Chinese dragon that we're thinking of. It was described as very much like a baby, like brontosaurus type creature, for lack of a better word. Long neck, long legs, bulkier body, but it was smaller. They're like goat size. But these things have been cited for so long, all throughout history, all throughout different continents, and even into modern day, and fossilized evidence that these things were alongside humans as well. So, I mean, how can anybody who's honestly looking and researching this say that it's not a possibility or not feasible? It blows my mind when people blow stuff like that off.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I'll say this, it for the people that don't believe, that's fine. And here's why you don't believe: because A, you don't go out and look. 2, you don't live in the country or the hills or the sticks or the woods.
Mm-hmm.
You live in the city where you're in your warm, fuzzy little bubble. And
Well, even to that point, Chris,
stuff.
I came across the report, and hold on, let me access this real quick. It was a dad, and his wife was having a baby, and so he was like in a waiting room. He wasn't in the room with the mother, but it was elevated. I want to say Detroit or Chicago or a big city in the Midwest. I may be wrong on that point, but I remember it was a big city, and he was up several stories, and he looked out and he saw a pterosaur flying across the sky in front of him in a big city setting. Right? So, I mean, there you go. When they're in the sky's the limit, right? They can go wherever they want to.
Right. Right. Well, like I said, the other cryptids, the other things that go bump in the night and things that people don't believe exist, they are out in the woods, ladies and gentlemen.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we're not here trying to convince you that they exist or do not exist. I mean, you're going to believe what you want to believe. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And ain't going to hurt my feelings. I'm still going to sleep at night, I'm just saying that people are seeing things and that does not make sense. That science tells us that it's impossible.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Now let's add another layer to this rabbit hole that we're going down. Let's dig a few feet deeper, Chris. Are you familiar with what a tulpa is?
No, I am not.
Amanda, are you familiar with a tulpa?
I'm afraid
Okay.
not.
Okay, so the idea of a tulpa is basically a thought form that has been given substance in our realm. If enough people strongly believe in its existence. Okay?
Kind of like a
It comes
creepypasta.
Yeah, well, and that's a modern day twist on it, and we'll get to that part of it.
Mm.
But the idea comes from the Tibetan monks with the idea of being able to have such focus and strong thought forms that your thoughts become reality, so to speak. Now, there's some controversy in this concept, and I'll get back to the dinosaur thing in a second with it. Reading up on tulpas, there's some people that say us as a Western society or people outside of that specific religion and understanding of it don't understand what they mean by Talpa. Talpa is just a mind, like when you really focus on something like in meditation, okay? Or if you have a clear picture in your mind, that's a Talpa. But the way we have brought it out is that it's an actual thought form brought to physicality in our world. And Amanda talking about, creepy pasta. A big one they're talking about now as a tulpa is Slender Man, where we know for a fact that this creature was created on the internet as a creepy pasta. But the idea is enough people believed in it that it somehow came to form, right? It manifested itself. Thank you, Londa, for the right word there. It manifested itself in our realm. Now, this is a concept some people are putting towards this idea of dinosaur sightings. Okay. And here's why. Because, Amanda, did your sighting have feathers or anything like that?
No, sir.
No. Okay. But what is modern science telling us pterodactyls now look like? That they were feathered,
Oh, yeah.
right? They go, hey, back in the day, we thought they were just strictly leather, but now we're saying, no, 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 they're feathered. Or same thing with the raptor-like creatures, right? According to modern science, the raptor-like creatures or the theropod family, those are the ones that supposedly evolved into birds. And therefore, they're now showing them being hair covered and more bird like. Like if you just like I just watched Jurassic Park Dominion for the first time like 2 nights ago because I'm slow when it comes to movies. But a lot of the dinosaurs in there were portrayed as feathered dinosaurs. But the dinosaurs that people are reporting and seeing and have reported and seen over the centuries aren't feathered.
Mhm.
And so one of the ways that they're supposedly countering this is that the dinosaurs are some kind of tulpa or hallucination based on what we believed they looked like by those old viewings of what dinosaurs supposedly look like. Now, the way I see it is any one of those pictures are nothing more than an artist's rendition, period. Right? Because we didn't live alongside them. We don't know exactly what they look like, the skin color. Like you said, Amanda, the one lady said that it was a bright green color,
Mhm.
right? But most dinosaurs are not portrayed with bright colors,
Yeah.
right? They're portrayed with dark greens, mottled colors, camouflage like colors for their environment. But that doesn't stand out to what necessarily we're viewing and what we're seeing. And it definitely doesn't match with what science is saying now these creatures supposedly look like. So
Mhm.
I mean, how do we account for that? That's where they're saying it's a tulpa thing. They saw that a lizard with no feathers because that's what they believe they're supposed to look like, and that's what everybody thinks about when they think of dinosaurs. Hence the tulpa aspect of it. What do you
Interesting.
think of that? Yeah.
Very interesting. I like that theory. I'll definitely have to look into that some more myself for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting play on this whole topic, and most of the topics that we have come up that we investigate is the tulpa thing.
Well,
What do
and
you
I can
think,
say
Grizz?
this is that the reason why we're so good with reconstructing humans from skeleton remains is because we have pictures and we have renditions of what people look like from pictures and things over the generations, right?
Mm-hmm.
Family members. That's how we know what people can look like back 2,000, 3,000 years ago from remains, because we know how to reconstruct the tissue and everything on the body, the skeletal
Right, but
remains, the skull,
we
stuff like
learned that
that.
we learned that right by researching current humans and current cadavers. We deconstructed them to be able to gain that ability and know, hey, if I have this facial feature and I dig down to the bone, this is what it looks like on the bone, right?
Right.
It was kind of reverse engineering, so to speak, but we don't have that luxury in layman's terms and layman's knowledge to be able to do that with dinosaurs. And that's why over the years, if you look back to the 1800s and you look at what an iguanodon supposedly looked like, and you look at what an iguanodon supposedly looks like according to the modern rendition, they're not even the same creature by any means, even though it's the same skeleton.
No, I agree. You know, and that's why I think the Jurassic Park movies have changed when it comes to different types of dinosaurs, as well as their colors. I'm sorry, you don't know what color they were by looking at bones.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it is. It's all man-made. So I mean, it's
And
a very, very good valid point. So yes.
if I remember correctly, when they first started talking about feathered dinosaurs, the reason it came up was two things. One, we had the Archaeopteryx, or I'm probably not pronouncing that because it's 11:30 at night, so I'm not pronouncing it correctly. But Archaeopteryx was supposedly a cross between a lizard and a bird. It was completely feathered and flighted, but it had like a bony tail and stuff like that. So that was one of the things that they used to use as proof of dinosaur birds. And then in China, during an excavation, they were studying the bones of a raptor type creature, not Velociraptor from the movies, but a raptor, which is the family name. They found little like divots or dimples along some of the arm bones. And the idea is that those dimples or divots were leftover indications of feathers. Because apparently, when you have chickens or things like that, when they have the feathers, it microscopically leaves these divots along the bone structure. And so that's where they came up with this, or how they were proving that dinosaurs had feathers. And if I remember correctly, it was only one or two of the bones that showed this divoting on it. And then from there, they supposedly discovered more and more and more, and now 90% of your dinosaurs have feathers on them. So I'm not really sure how it progressed to that point, but I believe that was the original archaeological find that started supporting their idea of feathered dinosaurs.
Yeah, so what he's referring to, ladies and gentlemen, if you go and buy chicken with skin on it, you get these little dimples on it. You know, the little thingies that rise above the skin? Those are where feathers were stuck into it at one time.
Yep.
That's what he's referring to. So I'm just throwing it out there to give you a mental picture.
Yep.
So,
and they're saying that they found evidence of that in these fossilized, dinosaur bones or dinosaur impressions.
Well, only thing I know is that, everybody can stand where they want to stand. Every time I'll draw the line, ladies and gentlemen, I always have to move the line. That's why I don't draw the line anymore in the sand. It's just it's hard not to. Because things do appear, things do disappear. Where you're following a cryptid in the middle of the field and the footprint stop, the track stop, however you want to call it. It happens. We've got somebody that we know amongst the cryptid community that has a lot of activity on their property that's unexplainable. That looks like it comes out of a Star Wars movie. And you're going to call that person a liar, and we all know her and them, and it's just incredible. So I don't know. But I think a lot of it has to deal with, my opinion, is man-made and man-caused, and others there's some reality and myth to it. Yeah, I do.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think some of it slipped by? Yeah, I don't think it's the T-Rex of the day back 245 million years ago that's walking upon the earth. Because we know back then things were bigger and better, like in Texas, right? But it's not the case now.
Sure.
But you're actually having everyday citizens reporting encounters, and they're like, honey, did you see that? We are not talking about that because nobody's going to believe us, and we're not going to the event, so keep your pie hole shut. And
Sure.
that's how it happens. So, and
And
how
and
long did it take you, girl, for you to come forward, Amanda, for you to first speak of it?
Um, I actually didn't start speaking about it until a couple years ago.
Oh, wow. Long time.
So yeah, I kind of kept to myself a long time just because, I'm the crazy girl anyway who saw crazy things. So yeah, actually it wasn't until I started, sharing some of my other cryptid stuff, Bigfoot and things, and then it, like I said, it was in that file back here in the brain of things, and it came up in conversation when I was like, oh wait, yeah, I've seen one of those. Never mind. Let me
Mhm.
tell you about this crazy thing I've seen. And so yeah, I've only shared it with a couple of people. So congrats, Grizz. You were my first public platform that I'm sharing this
Wow.
on.
I'm honored. We're all honored. So yeah, but it's just you're not the only one, and that's the point I'm trying to
Mhm.
let everybody know. It's that a lot of people don't come forward
Yeah,
because
of tons.
who else has seen these things? Because you don't hear
Mhm.
this every. Yeah, on the 6 o'clock news tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we got Mr. Decker. He's coming on live, just telling us how crazy he is and what he's seen on the way home from work, and we're going to make fun of him and crucify him. No,
Mhm.
that's why they don't come forward. I mean, just like just like the mammoth burger. We talked about that earlier about the woolly mammoth coming. But, people do not want to face reality. And, they ask me on the national show all the time, what is reality?
What is reality is
What
a good
is
thing.
reality? Right. That is exactly.
I
But,
have had a saying for years that perspective is reality, right? And I came up with that in my role and being in the restaurant industry and a chef was what the customer sees is their reality, right? So they might see one thing and they don't understand what's happening or what you're doing, but they don't care because they're perceiving it as one thing, right? Let's say, okay, so you went to the restroom, and I'm assuming you washed your hands in the restroom, but when you come back into the kitchen, let's say you're in a fast food restaurant, and they see you come from the restroom, walk around, and they come over, and you start making food. In their mind, they're going, "Wow, this guy just went to the restroom and didn't wash his hands." Right? So that may not be what actually happened, but that's their perception, and to them, that's their reality.
Mm-hmm.
So for a lot of things, perception is reality.
yeah, it is. And it's really sad because there's a lot of people, who don't come forward. It has a lot of good encounters
Mm-hmm.
or stories that happen to them, and it's sad. A lot of people it is affected. And watch a man his face. How has it affected you seeing the stuff you've seen?
Um, I don't know necessarily if it's a good thing or a bad thing. Um, I know it's definitely gave me an interesting look on things, and I've had some interesting conversations with people, including my own husband. I was like, "Oh yeah, I know I've told you about like my Bigfoot, my ghost stuff, but I'm talking on a podcast here in a couple of days about my dinosaur sighting. I don't think I've ever told you. We've been together like 20 years, and it just never came up in
Oh,
conversation."
wow. He's like,
And
what?
yeah, pretty much. He's like, because I told him about it, he's like, yeah, I'm never going over there ever again. You've seen too many creepy things over there. But no, I used to be ashamed of a lot of this stuff, these subject matters and stuff, kind of kept to myself into that little nerdy kid who didn't, keep it, because back in my day, showing my old elder millennial age, we were made fun of for this topic,
Mm-hmm.
all the nerd stuff, the being into Jurassic Park or being into Lord of the Rings and that kind of stuff. Now all that stuff is like super mainstream, and you're not cool unless you're into that. So I guess I just had to get past out of my shell and just feel a lot more comfortable and open with this stuff. And I've discovered that the more open that I am with sharing these subjects and sharing these topics, sharing my encounters and experiences with some people, it's really given me a chance to have great connections with other people on these. And like you were talking about a second ago, so many people have been so hush hush about some of this stuff. They're so afraid of the ridicule. So if we can get past that and get to where people are more comfortable with this, you'd be amazed at how much. I mean, we're not never going to know all the answers, but there's definitely would be a lot more puzzle pieces that we would have to some of this for sure.
Yeah, and I totally
Absolutely.
agree with you on that, because there are a lot of people out there. Number one, you're not alone, and I know that beyond a reasonable doubt. Uh, there are things that are out there that people cannot understand or wrap their mind around, and that's okay. I do not look down at them, and I don't think differently of them. I don't, I'll let them believe in their faith. I'll let them believe in their beliefs. But one thing I always say is, don't throw your things and your beliefs and your practices in somebody else's face or down their throats, right? Because we don't do that in what we think of. And they have a rough time understanding what I just said. And I want that to resonate with them. Because it's opposite, because they will be the first one to say you did not happen. That is a hoax. That does not exist. Well, okay, then come over to my studio and hang out with me for a day, and let's see some crap flying around and get tossed and thrown at you in my studio, and let's put up some electronic devices, and you can have some conversations and so forth. And they're like, huh? I'm like, yeah, let's change the ball game a little bit. Let's let you be the batter for a change, and let somebody else throw the ball to you. And same thing with the cryptid community. There are people out there that, if you don't want to believe, come to me and take my hand, and I will let you into the woods and show you things. And guess what? They never do it. And I'm like, why not? Are you afraid, of the unknown? Damn right I am. I'm not going to lie. Absolutely. There's things out there. I don't want to face the truth. And that's the society that we're in. During COVID, they made the announcement that UFOs exist. Ah! Where the hell have y'all been smoking that pipe, right? And now Biden's supposed to come out this summer. The UFOs do exist, ladies and gentlemen. And hey, aliens have been here. I'm like, yeah, we all know that. And Americans like, what? And I'm like, God, people, are y'all that ignorant? And we can go on and on, but we are so conditioned, and so I don't want to say, well, I'm going to say lied to over the years.
Yeah.
We are accustomed to believe everything what we want to see on TV, and so I don't even watch the news anymore. I don't have to. It's just all a hoax. Russia collapsing within itself. Next, everything's fine, ladies and gentlemen. Bull crap. The Russians were like, screw you, Putin. We're going to take you. And next thing you know, Putin's like, I'm going to wipe you off the face of the earth. I'm like, okay, we're sorry. We love you, Mr. Putin. Don't kill us. That was mutiny. That was a rebellion that was getting ready to happen. And nobody wants to look at Putin as being like Hitler and causing mass murder and everything. But, it's the society we live in. If you don't believe in my faith, you're going to hell. Well, God loves me. Well, you're damn right God loves you, because God loves all children. But let me tell you what God does not love. And that's the sin that you are involved in. When you die, you have to answer for that. Now, swallow that red pill, ladies and gentlemen. So if we want to talk about faith and biblical reference, we can debate that all night long. So, and people bend things around their reality and their world to make them feel warm and fuzzy. Well, it don't fit my lifestyle, so we're going to change it. So I got on a tangent there. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. But once you pull my string, once you pull my string,
that's
I'm
actually
like that little I get the old rampant going there, but yes. Has
That's a
anyone ever
perfect
seen an
segue
ant
to
person?
actually. What?
Go ahead.
I have not. That was actually a perfect segue to the next thing I was going to ask Amanda, though, and this is kind of something that I had to experience with. Now, I am also of the Christian faith, born and raised in a missionary family in the jungles. Had to go my own way and discover my own faith for myself, which I did.
Same for me.
And I came back to the Christian faith, but I always had issues understanding because I've experienced a lot of things in my life. I've seen a lot of things, been through a lot of things that didn't quite fit into necessarily what I had been taught through the Orthodox Christian belief system. And so there's a lot of things I didn't talk about. There's a lot of things that I was almost ashamed of experiencing or researching or trying to come up with an understanding of because of that. Now, throw that caveat on there. My parents were amazing. My parents always taught me to search for the truth. Don't believe what any man tells you. Don't believe when anybody tells you until you seek the truth for yourself. Now that's in the Bible as well. Don't listen to just a preacher man tell you something. Go back to the source material. And I kind of took that life lesson and applied it to everything I do, or at least try to, because I'm not perfect. And I applied that same concept to my research. And that was a big thing for me. And so I am now more comfortable saying, hey, yes, I am a Christian and I am, a Bible believing Christian. I believe that Christ died for our sins, and that's, what saves you in that belief. But at the same time, I still believe in a lot of Eastern philosophy, so to speak, when it comes to like energies and how people in the world around us has all this energy. And I've been able to kind of put it all together, and I'm not ashamed of that anymore. So and this is all leading up to the question. Was it harder for you being raised, Christian like that and having some of these experiences to come out and say this because you were afraid of what people are going to say from that aspect of it, or the reaction you might get from some of the people in the community like that?
For me, not necessarily. So my situation was a little unique. I grew up in a very open-minded Christian family. Like, so a little backstory, I'm the eldest daughter of the eldest daughter of the eldest daughter, and they were all preachers' daughters, all very strong women of God who also had spiritual gifts, I guess. Like, one was an herbologist. The Lord would just show her what herbs she needed to go and forage from the woods that would help and heal this person from whatever the sickness was. And my grandmother would have dreams and premonitions of things that were going to happen in the future when my grandfather was overseas in the Navy and stuff. And so they were all very open-minded to this. So I was actually felt really comfortable that I could tell it with my family. However, on the opposite end of it, sharing it with people outside of family was a whole different story. I very much kept all of that to myself because, I was already the weird girl. I was already bullied and everything like that. So, definitely wanted to add more fuel to the fire for that kind of subject matter. And so now that I'm an adult and finding a path, and like I said, actually, I, for lack of better words, we're going down these Christian rabbit holes. I did doubt God for a while. And because, like you said, there's all these crazy things out there, aliens and lizard people, and the government's going to kill all of us and everything like that. And it actually put me going and working at the museum that I'm at now. Not another segue there. And delving back into that and starting looking at things, from a biblical standpoint that helped me reestablish my my faith and my relationship with God even stronger than it was before. And it's opened up a nice opportunity for me there between that personal relationship there.
One of the biggest challenges I've come across, not a challenge, but a roadblock, is when people say, you profess to be a Christian, how can you believe in this stuff?
Hmm.
And I ask them, how are they contradictory?
Exactly. I hear that a
Right?
lot. People say it's like,
W-
well, did we not hear that, we worship a supernatural God, so why can't there be supernatural stuff in this world?
Right.
Just saying. Jesus walked on water. Wouldn't you call that something super or paranormal nowadays? Changing water into wine, would that not be something paranormal that
Hmm.
you'd see somebody on a TikTok nowadays go, "Oh my God, look at this crazy thing," you know? Or,
Yep.
him raising Lot from the dead. Um, I think I got the name right.
Yeah, you
But
did.
yeah,
You did.
Lazarus. Close enough.
Lazarus. Thank
Lazarus.
you. I was like,
Lazarus.
I
Yep.
knew it started with L. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Well, and
Um,
that's the whole point I wanted to bring around with this is the idea of believing in this stuff is not heretical when it comes to the Christian faith. So
yeah.
if there are Christian believers out there in our audience or they've come across this, understand it's okay to believe in this stuff because it is real and it is out there. And
Hmm.
it's part of the world where we believe that God created as part of it. And there's nothing wrong with looking into this stuff. I have literally been told that I'm obviously not a Christian because I believe in Bigfoot. And I just don't understand that correlation. I think that's completely erroneous
I agree.
and wrong. And I think it hinders, like you were talking about, we were talking about people coming forward, especially in our area. We're talking Appalachian, we're talking the Bible Belt, where there's
Hmm.
a lot of crazy things. And yet it's weird because they still believe in granny witches. And you know what a granny witch is,
Oh yeah.
right? And then, but there's nothing wrong with that, so I just find it very interesting. And the idea is basically we can still believe in this stuff and we can still research this stuff and we can still try and seek the truth of these things and then not have it go against the faith. So anybody out there that is having that inner battle, just know it's okay and search for that reconciliation in your beliefs.
Yeah, it's really sad. I'm just I hear to talk to so many people all day long in the museum, and it's really sad that I've talked to so many other fellow Christians out there who've had paranormal encounters or Bigfoot encounters and things like that, and they're like, yeah, the church shunned me, the pastor shunned me, they told me to
Hmm.
keep my mouth shut and like that, and it breaks my heart. So I hope that, us as a community to do better. Let's do better for our people. And
Do better.
like I said,
Absolutely.
Totally agree. Absolutely, yes.
And just to plug too, I did not know. She probably told me. I've been to Amanda's museum there a couple times now. Um, Cherry Log, North Georgia, up there. And it's
mhm.
funny. The first time I was there was a gentleman standing to me and just kind of looking around, and I could see him busy doing stuff. And he asked me how I enjoyed it, and I said, you know what, I really did enjoy this. This was fun. I'm here with my son, and it was David, and I didn't realize
Oh,
it was
nice.
David at the time. David is the owner, guys, by the way, of the museum there. Um, so that was kind of cool. And the second time, I was able to spend more time, and he wasn't there. I was looking for him. But if anybody gets up that way, definitely check it out. It's a one of a kind experience to go through there and check things out. So there's a second plug for you.
But no, it is. We're not here to try to change anybody's beliefs or standpoints.
Nope.
We're here to
Mm-mm.
educate you and just let you know, ladies and gentlemen, there are things out there that do exist and that we don't understand. And we're not here to try to understand them. They're there, unfortunately. Whether they are man-made, whether they are from different dimensionals, who knows? I wish I had a golden book, the tablet of the truth, or the book of the truth, or however you want to label it,
Mhm.
the book of knowledge, that let everybody know. But it's been very interesting, that's for sure. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I was late. I do apologize. That's not like me. So yeah, it was very interesting. I'm glad you made it to the show, though. I'm glad you came. Thank you,
Well,
Amanda.
thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a good one. Take care, girl.
All right, have a good night.
All right, bye bye. So, what are we going to do now, sir?
Oh man, I don't know. That was fantastic, man. I love that Amanda was so ready to come on and tell her story.
Yeah,
Because like
interesting.
she is the only one I've ever talked to in person with her own sighting. And so that when I first came across her, and we've been Facebook friends ever since, and we discussed different topics and stuff, but that just blew my mind because I had never spoken to somebody with their own dinosaur sighting.
Yeah, like I said, you can actually, ladies and gentlemen, go out there and do your research. DuckDuckGo and some of the other ones that are not censored or filtered search engines, and they still have reports in these third world countries of alleged sightings of these
Yeah.
dinosaurs that do not exist. Now, they're not 35, 50, 60 foot tall, but they're miniatures, and just like the giant snakes, the giant spiders that that do not exist allegedly. I mean, Josh Gates, Destination Truth, and some of the other shows that are out there that that still pursue this, and I mean, people are seeing something, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
So what are they, or what is it that they are actually seeing? So they're seeing something. Hello there, B Burgers. How you doing there? Welcome to the show. Welcome. Nice to have you. So what's on the agenda for next week?
I'm talking to a local guy here. He thinks he's going to be coming on the show. We got to get his schedule yet. He has a couple of fantastic topics that we can talk about, so I'm not really sure which one we're going to go with. He's been really keeping up to date on this whole UFO activity going on in Las Vegas. I think like 80% of his posts right now are about the video and different things behind that. So we may have him come on and talk about that. Or he has also done a lot of research in backmasking and recording. And this phenomenon of being able to record just people talking, just like me and you having this conversation and playing it backwards. And supposedly you can hear what the subconscious is trying to tell you when you play it backwards. And so he is very well versed in these two subjects. So I'm trying to get him to be able to come on the show for us for next week. I'm not going to say 100%. I got a couple other backup ideas, but that's what I'm shooting for. Hopefully for next week is one of those two topics with his guest.
Well, Amanda is still backstage, and I will leave this with you, ladies and gentlemen. So when I grew up out in the country, and we used to have Sunday mornings once a month. We would take records and we used to burn them because back then, music we played backwards and they would give you messages. You remember those days?
Mm-hmm.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you go and on the next show, tell me what another one bites the dust. Yeah, another one bites the dust. Ow! Tell me what that means backwards. I know what it means.
Oh,
but
yes.
Tell me what that meaning and what it says playing backwards. And if my father is watching this show, he's going to kill me because every time I bring it up, he's like, I knew it was you burning the records. Because he would always tell my mom, where's my records going? Because I would always sneak them out of the house to get on the church bus. Be like, hey, look what I got. We're going to have some fun, ladies and gentlemen. But anyways, yes, that's how big of look, I got to bring her on. She's back there roaring right now. I'm telling you, that's what we did.
I remember that.
We burned those sons of guns, And
we had some bonfires and a half in the 90s during the satanic panic phase. Oh, yes.
So, yeah. So,
Lord, I'd be a rich man if we didn't burn all those Pokemon cards I had when I was a kid.
Yeah. So,
I remember that. Pokemon are demons, and all we're doing is teaching these kids to go out and find demons.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
I remember that.
I never forget when I went to one of the corporate guys came in. I know, but anyways, and one of my employees was playing that thing on their phone, and he was like, Grizzly, what is he doing? And I'm like, I'm like, really? I'm like, did I not have a talk? Because they would go around. We had one of the facilities was like 7 football fields long. Okay, that's how big this building was. And I'm like, really? I mean, really? We told everybody who was showing up. This is like very big day. And So we went to lunch, and I had to use my corporate card to buy everybody's lunch. And I was like, "Where's so-and-so?" And they're like, "We thought he was with you." I'm like, "No, he's not with me." So I'm like, "Get on the cameras." So, and ladies and gentlemen, we had very good cameras in this company. Anyways, and he was in a area not wearing the proper material, clothing wise, where he should not be out there trying to catch these sons of guns on his phone. And I'm like, "You gotta be." He's like, I'm like, "Did you show him that?" He's like, "It's not my fault. He wanted to know what I was doing. I showed him. After that, he was gone." And he was, for 2 days, he was in this building trying to catch these extra points. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, I didn't mention your name, so I'm not embarrassing you if you're watching the show. But anyway, from coast to coast and around the world, ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Sorry I was late. Godspeed. We'll see you on the next show. Take care, everybody. And thanks again, Amanda.
You're very welcome. We'll see y'all next time.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
It's a grizzly.
Should we get out of here?
No. We're gonna watch and listen.
Action.
It's a grizzly.
Oh, shit, should we run?
No.
Action.
It's a grizzly.
Oh, shit, should we run?
Okay. It's a grizzly.
Are you sure it's not a chipmunk? Action. No, I'm out of here. Action.
It's a grizzly.
I'm out of here.
Huh. Maybe it is a chipmunk. It's a grizzly.
Are we gonna die?
I don't know. We're just gonna sit here and listen and watch.
Let's get out of here, maybe.
Fall!